name is Shlomi Ron. I'm the founder and CEO of the Visual Storytelling Institute. As you know, we are all about visual storytelling, bringing the gospel visual storytelling from the world of art and making it more purposeful, more human for us marketers. So we do it through our training, consulting, and thought leadership, like this podcast you're in right now. So for today, what I want to talk about is the issue that I bet some of you already got hit in the past. And I'm talking about, cybersecurity, and more specifically, how to use visual storytelling to communicate cybersecurity threats. So, I just, before this, preparing for this show, I was just looking around for some of the latest stats, and it was mind-boggling. I saw that the global cybercrime cost is expected to grow 15% year over year for the next 5 years, and to be reaching $10.5 trillion by 2025. So we're talking about a massive amount of damage that's coming our way. And I bet you got those, phishing attempt in your email, to even calls on your phone that hit labeled spam. And now we have, in the past 6 months, the emergence of AI added another wrinkle to the mix. So to talk about all this fun stuff of cybersecurity and what it means for us marketers and how you can actually get prepared, I invited a great friend here based in Miami. His name is Reginald Andre, and he's the founder and CEO of the Ark Solvers. And in fact, his company, his IT and cybersecurity company, was named really as the leading IT and cybersecurity company in South Florida for the past 3 years, which is amazing. So with that, I'd like to welcome you to the show, Andre.
Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Yeah, so this has been on my mind as well. And, as I was telling you, I'm also actually running a cybersecurity internship right now with a student at MDC, the Miami-Dade College. So I thought this could be a nice opportunity to dig deeper with your expertise. But before we do that, maybe if you can share your backstory, how you got started interested in IT, cybersecurity.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you remember the store CompUSA?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so CompUSA, for those of you that may not know, it's kind of like what today's modern version of a Best Buy. They sell computers, TVs, and all sorts of gadgets. And one day I was working at CompUSA. I was about 19 years old, and this guy comes in and he buys shopping cart after shopping cart after shopping cart full of items. And at the end of the sale, he asked me like, "Hey, I'm going to set this up. I don't know how to set up technology." And yeah, and at the time, CompUSA didn't have like the Geek Squad, which is what Best Buy has, where they come to your house and set up everything. So he asked if I can go to his house, and I said, sure. I would always do work for my friends and family. And he gave me his address, and he asked me to come on a Saturday and to get everything set up. So come that Saturday, I put the address in the GPS, and it said 400 Alton Road. Yes, and I grew up.
You remember the address? That's amazing.
Oh yeah. And I grew up in Miami Gardens, and if you're not from Miami, that's not the best part at the time of South Florida. And Miami Beach, I had never been. Here I am, 19 years old. For the most part, I've lived here my entire life, and I had never been to Miami Beach. So I can remember driving on the causeway and seeing the boats and the cruises and the palm trees and the girls. And I'm like, wow, this is what I used to see on TV, but I had never been to Miami Beach and to this address here. So I go to his, he lives in a high-rise condominium. He's on the 15th floor overlooking the marina. Beautiful. I set up his computers, and from there, a few of his friends comes in and says, wow, who set this up for you, Andre? And they said Andre did. And from there, I went to his friends, and in a period of about 6 months, the guy that I met at CompUSA is sending me to all of his friends to set up their computers and things like that. And 6 months later, he calls me and says, hey, Andre, I'm really excited about what you've been doing for my friends. You're a hard worker, diligent. They're ecstatic about your service. I didn't tell you this, but I'm a retired 41-year-old multi-millionaire. I just moved from New
Oh,
York.
wow.
Yeah, and I want to start a business with you. Whatever you're making at CompUSA, I was making about $11 an hour. Whatever you're making at CompUSA, I'm gonna double it. I know you're going to school to become a English teacher, but I want you to slow down on school and let's start a business together.
It's amazing. It's like a Cinderella story, pretty much. You know, you started by goodwill, and you know, you do a great job. You know, you show value, and people react to that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I went to my mom. She's a first generation Haitian American. She came here with literally nothing on her back. And
Wow.
when I told her this opportunity, she was like, Andre, this is why I came to this country. This is the American dream. Do it. And so I did it. And 9 years later, we're the kings of South Beach. Everybody knows us.
Wow.
We're making over $1 million in sales. We have 9 employees. And but you know, there was one thing that bothered me a little, and it was the fact that my business card says vice president, my email address said managing partner, but there was never anything in writing with the guy I originally met at CompUSA, which is now my boss. And so I went to him, and he said, yeah, you know what? Yeah, let's go ahead and make this a real partnership. We'll put something in writing. Right. And he said, give him a couple of months. A couple of months came by, and he asked me to come into his office. And he said, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to let you go.
Oh, wow.
That's what I said.
This is kind of a twist in the story, unexpectedly, huh?
Yes, yes. 9 years, 7 days a week, working 18-hour shifts, busting my butt to build this business. And he lets me go.
Wow. We call it, by the way, in storytelling, we call it a false start story structure. When you started by a Cinderella story, it looks everything rosy, amazing, but then there's a twist to the negative side that you didn't expect.
Yeah. And I remember I'm in the garage of the building, and I'm like, what am I going to do? I was making a lot of money, but this was 2009. You know, this was rock and roll. You were making a lot of money, but you were spending it at the same time. And I remember the quote from Rocky that says, it's not how hard you get hit, it's how you get back up.
Yeah.
And from there, and then from there, I said, you know what, I can do this. I had a non-compete, so I couldn't go after any of our old clients. And I started in my mom's Florida room, what we have Ark Solvers. And fast forward today, we're 13 years in business. We are, as you mentioned, we're voted, you know, the fastest growing cybersecurity and IT company 3 years in a row. And that's kind of how we got started in the, how I got started in the IT field. I should have been an English teacher right now.
Wow. And you didn't go to any kind of technical IT program for school. You went to basically for English.
Yeah, because when I was working at CompUSA, I knew a little tech. And then from there, I did actually, one thing when I started my business in 2010 with Ark Solvers, I was hiring a lot of contractors, but I was the face of the company. And the contractors would do the work. And what was happening is they were messing up so much. And I couldn't know if they were BSing me or whatever. So I actually said, you know what, I'm going to go back to school because I need to be able to know what I'm selling. And then so I did get a 2-year degree at Broward College for network technology and also a business administration as well. So, but I still hire people way smarter than me. I'm not the technical.
Oh, I see. Wow, this is interesting. So you're not coming from a technical background at all, but you actually pull it together where you have the tech muscles with people around you.
Exactly.
That's cool. So maybe that's a good segue. If you can talk a little bit about what you do at Ark Solvers, you know, what type of cybersecurity threats you're handling.
Yeah, sure. So what we are is what they call a managed service cybersecurity provider. So our typical customers are businesses that have 20 or more computers, 20 to 100 computers, and they are in a space where they can't justify having a full-time employee in their company, you know, paying $100,000 salary. But they need that full protection, and they need that team behind them to help them with their technology. So we do a lot of work for wealth managers. We do a lot of work for developers in real estate construction.
Yeah,
a lot of businesses that are regulated or deal with money our job is to help them make their technology be smooth. And most importantly, we want to keep them cyber safe because things have changed and cyber threats are way up.
Right. So speaking about that, from the past year, let's say, what would you say are the top 5 cybersecurity threats?
Well, the top, 95% of cyber threats are coming from emails, and that's coming from phishing.
Interesting.
Yeah, and phishing is what we call a email that's sent to someone and it's being portrayed that it's a legit email. Many years ago, you may have remembered the Nigerian prince, and people would fall for it. And the reason that they just continue doing it over and over is because there was someone that would fall for it. And now hackers are getting more sophisticated, and they're doing like emails where they're making it seem like it's their boss sending them emails, or they can be like a vendor and, hey, we changed our bank account, things like that. So phishing is the biggest thing that we're seeing right now.
And what is the typical call to action in phishing? Is it to click a button or send us money? What are the typical call to actions?
Usually what they want you to do is to click on the email, which is going to now go to like a fake Google page or a fake Microsoft page, and then have the person enter their email address and their password. Because what they really want is your information. They want to get into your emails to see what type of business you have, what type of money you're dealing with, do you have client information on it, etc.
Got it. So outside phishing, do you find other threats like, ransomware?
Yeah, actually, ransomware is number two.
Okay.
So typically, though, it does also come from phishing, because what you have is and notice again, it's going to come through email. And what happens is the user clicks on something, clicks on a link, or they go on a website, it downloads it. And then what ransomware does is, just imagine you come in the morning, you open up your computer, and your files say locked. Your Word can't open, your Outlook can't open. And then you get a nice, pleasant message that says, if you want your data back, you have to pay us in Bitcoin.
Wow, this is insane. Yeah, I bet, it's a crisis moment. And that kind of brings me to the next question is really, do you find your clients are calling you after the crisis broke out, or those that are really kind of fast, like forward thinking, taking strides to reach out to you with preemptive safeguards?
Unfortunately, most of the time when we're getting new clients, it's because either they themselves have been compromised and they're like, I never want this to happen to me again. Or maybe a friend or colleague that got in the industry got compromised, and they're like, I need to make sure that doesn't happen to us. Because a lot of businesses now, they think that they're too small to get hacked. They think that, why would a hacker come after me? I'm only, 20 employees, 5 million in revenue. They can go after the government. They can go after multi-million dollar businesses. But the fact is, when these hackers are sending out these emails and ransomware attacks and things like that, they don't know who. They're just spraying. They're just casting that net and seeing what bites, and then they take it from there. But as long as you have money in your bank account, you are a target for hackers. Right.
And one of the things that really kind of, blows my mind, especially now with AI, when you think about all these cybersecurity threats, basically it's an exercise in storytelling, right? That the hacker is trying to tell you a convincing story and make you believe on something else, right? So now with AI, they have the capability not only to use ChatGPT to kind of draft it so it's super convincing and high quality, but also use visuals like videos, images that's really incredibly looking professional. So that's the front end, but on the back end, I'm guessing AI is really allowing them to kind of move pretty fast. When you say casting a wide net, now they probably can automate this with AI and do this much faster.
Absolutely. I always say, if the Nigerian prince knew how to spell correctly, he would get even more people. So what the hackers are doing, because a lot of times these are either robots or these are people in other countries. You could have India, China, Iran, and what they're now doing is they're reading the emails, copying that information, putting it into GPT and other places, and they're, like you just said, write me a convincing response to this, whatever. And we're seeing dead on things that if you're not protected, if you don't have the right protections, and I have an example I can give, it's really convincing.
And just kind of out of curiosity, are there any kind of threats that from the outside may look extremely terrible, but you typically solve them like this, or there's a quick fix for them?
No quick fixes. It's all about, I would say, a user education. If that could be the quickest fix, that's the quickest fix.
No, just one kind of threat I'm talking about, that it looks really terrible on the outside, but you just need to do A, B, and C.
Oh, I see. Yes. So a lot of times you could go on a website and a pop-up message will say your computer has been hacked.
Oh yeah.
Click here. And what that is called what is called a browser hijack. So it's not that your computer has a virus. It's basically the link that you clicked on is making it seem like your computer has a virus. And what they really want you to do is to click on it so that you can then fall into having the virus. So yeah.
So all you need is just to backtrack, basically. And
exactly. All you have to do is don't click on the link. There's usually the right, depending if you have a Mac or Windows, there's usually the X that you click on, and then that's it. And then just out of precaution, run a virus scan on the machine. But that's usually one of the ones that we see where people are freaking out. But we're like, it's just a website that's made it seem like you have a virus, but it's not a real virus.
Yeah, that's good to know. Yep. Very cool. So maybe now that we got some context about the Ark Solvers, we talked a little bit about threat types. Maybe you can show us, we're recording this in video, obviously. So if you can show some examples of threats that you've been working on, so people can.
Absolutely. So I'm gonna just confirm you can see it.
Yep.
Awesome. So here we have one of our clients, and their name is actually Harry Cadiz, and they have our cybersecurity protection. So I always say with cybersecurity, it's not one thing you do. It's not that you install a firewall and you're okay. It's not that you install an antivirus and you're okay. You have to put layers and layers and layers of protection. So in this case, we have a very robust spam filter. And one of Harry's the owner, one of Harry's employees received this email. And here you can see that it's coming from Harry going to Fernando, but the display name shows the correct person's name. But then when you look at the email, and sometimes this is hidden depending on how you have your Outlook set up, you don't actually see the email. All you just see is the full name. And it says, "Hi, good morning. How was your night? I hope you slept well."
Right.
So using the AI, what's going to happen, and this is now automated, there's bots for this, is let's just say Fernando thought it was Harry. Oh, okay. Harry wants to know how I was doing. He would respond. And based on that response, the AI would automatically generate a follow-up. And then from there, eventually what probably would have happened is that this fake Harry would have then asked Fernando to like, hey, I need the password to this, or I need to make a payment, but I can't right now. Can you just go ahead and use your credit card and I'll pay you back when I see you, or whatever that spam is. But this is the beginning. This is the beginning of how it starts.
That's insane. Yeah. So this spam protection, to me, it's like the equivalent of the bogus calls that you get, and you get the spam notification. So these days, I don't pick up my phone anymore, almost, because you get so many spam. It's insane, unless it's from someone that I know. So
exactly.
Yeah. And you also mentioned that you had another example where another client faced with the issue of accessing their database, right?
Yeah, so we had a few. So I'm going to go ahead and share it here.
Yep.
All right, so this is another one where we had a client, and all of a sudden we're getting alerts because, and they're here in South Florida, and we're getting alerts because someone is trying to access their data. Someone is trying to access their Microsoft.
Yeah.
And with Microsoft, you have your emails, your SharePoint, OneDrive, your Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and they're in Miami. But here you see Los Angeles, California, Virginia, Tennessee, New York, and in which we use tools that have AI. Our AI said, wait a minute here. There's no way you can be in Miami and then all of a sudden, Washington, California, Virginia, Tennessee. And then it alerted us about this. And then with the systems that we have, it automatically disconnected the account and blocked the account until we can investigate on this further.
Got it. Wow, this is insane. Yeah. So I'm kind of curious because I remember, from the 90s, everybody installed Norton antivirus, and there was a bunch of brands. Are they still useful, or we passed by them by now?
Yeah. Those are, maybe for your home computer, that's great. But for your business, you need something more comprehensive, because what I always say is that's, again, going back to that layer. If your antivirus is just basically getting a pounding, there's someone trying to hack, there's someone trying to knock on the door, but your antivirus can't call the police, your antivirus can't call the dog, can't tell the owner, can't do anything. All it's going to do, and then eventually the door.
It's a bouncer, basically, like in a bar, you have a bouncer, so you just bounce it, but that's it. That's all it does.
Yes. And eventually the bouncer goes to his knees, and now everybody goes in and tramples him. So with advanced antivirus, what it does is, okay, antivirus needs help. Firewall, come on in, block it your way. Windows, we need to lock you down. Call Ark Solvers, like all of these different things, like a little movie storytelling, but it's like, all of these things happen, and that's what a business needs these days. Not just that, okay, I have a Norton or McAfee and I'm okay. No, you're not.
I see. It's like a chain reaction that needs to happen.
Yes.
Yeah, got it. So what kind of when you have client engage with you, what is the typical process? They have this huge fire, cybersecurity fire that they need to put out. So what is the process? How you really, in a typical threat, how do you handle it?
Yeah, so usually I prefer to get clients when there's no fire. It's more like, hey, because those fires always seem to happen on holiday weekends, when like these crazy times. So typically when someone wants to do business with us, we do what is called a first time appointment. And to kind of open up the curtains below behind is like, we want to make sure it's a good fit for both.
I see.
Yeah, so once we kind of have like a virtual coffee, we make sure it's a good fit, and then from there we ask some questions. I tell them my story, because the story that I mentioned at the beginning, I want to be relatable.
Sure.
I tell them, go on our social media, see what we're doing on our business page, on our LinkedIn page, so that you can see we are industry leaders. We're going to conferences. We have great team chemistry. We have vendor participations. Like, I want them to see, because I know they're going to be calling other people. And what I want them to do is I want them to go on Google, and I want them to say, wow, look at all of this that Ark Solvers.
Like third-party validation of your work, basically, from other sources. Yeah.
Exactly. And I want them to see this is what Ark Solvers is doing. And when they go to our competitors, then they're going to be like, man, this guy hasn't updated his Facebook page, his business Facebook page in years. Like, are they really still on top of things? And that's kind of like our angle when we try to acquire new clients. And then if it's a client that, it's a fire, hey, we have ransomware, we need your help. Then from there, we basically give them a nice bill or a nice estimate and say, well, in order to put out the fire, this is it. And then they go through their insurance companies and things like that for reimbursement. But usually for that, it's no negotiation. It's just, this is how much it is. Either you're going to buy it from me or you're going to buy it from somebody else, but this is the price.
But is it typically just help me put the fire out, or help me put the fire out, but also I want to be on a maintenance program with you?
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's both the remediation, what we call it. We find out how it happened. We give them back the story. We tell them, hey, on this date, this is when it happened, and someone clicked on this, and then from there, they did this and this and this, and we helped them dot the I's and things like that. And then from there, we then do an assessment of their systems and say, so this doesn't happen again. This is what we're recommending, and then it would be on an ongoing basis, because with cybersecurity, there's no such thing as set it and forget it.
Right.
It's constant monitoring. It's making sure everything is up to date, and there's nothing I can just install and be like, hey, all right, I'll see you in 3 months.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then brings me to my next question about visual storytelling techniques that you use. But I'm going to address, what we just discussed a second ago. As you solve the problem and you move them to a more kind of ongoing program, and I really like the way you kind of described it, to tell them how the story came up. Because to me, that maybe open up another way for you to storytell to the employees, because sometimes it's really silly things that employee is doing that cause the problem. So are you involved in kind of the visual storytelling in the capacity of training, educating employees of your clients so they are more aware? Because
yeah, absolutely. So that's part of my quoting process. And so when I'm doing a quote, I'm kind of like ripping, and it's easy. I just Google cybersecurity Miami, or cybersecurity hack Miami, or Florida, and I'm ripping articles right off of the news. It's not hard. University of Miami got hacked about 3-4 months ago. FIU got hacked. Shen Medical, which is a big, it's not hard for me to sell it. It's more of, can the customer afford it, or do they want to pay for it? I'll show you a great example right now. This is something I use. We have a lot of clients that are high-end luxury condominiums. And this happened right here in January 2023. If you guys are familiar with Key Biscayne, which is about 20 minutes south of Miami. And this says, email fraud cost Key Biscayne Botanica condo $105,000.
Wow.
And what happened? Yeah. And what happened here was, it was a phishing email where the admin in the management office received clicked on an email, put in their password for Microsoft. And then from there, the hacker saw that there was a quarterly payment every quarter going to a particular vendor. And what they then did is say, okay, well, if you're paying this vendor $105,000 every quarter, and the vendor name is abccompany.com, I'm going to create a new domain, and I'm going to call it ABC Company, but instead of the M, I'm going to make it an N, as in Nancy. And then, so it's going to be, Joe at ABC Company with spelled incorrectly .com. And then I'm going to write to the admin at Botanica and say, hey, you always send us this, and using AI. So that way the English can match, the language here in Miami, and say, you always pay us this $105,000. We're changing banks. This is the new routing and account information. And look here. So now you have a huge mess where they're now going to have to do a special assessment on this condominium because they didn't have the money in the reserves, and now they have to do a special assessment. And of course, the whole staff got fired.
So you see, from this story, I'm getting that if there was enough training for employees, educating them on how to watch out from these things, you can really cut down, those crisis moments in a big way, right? Because most people don't know. So when you don't know, you click, you open.
The majority of the reasons why the thing is, the majority of the reasons why clients get compromised is because of an employee. And it's kind of like, we Ark Solvers or any IT company, we can set it up perfectly. Everything. Exactly. Just takes that one click, that one mistake from the employee, and it's like, that's it. You just let them in the front door. There's nothing else I can do.
So do you have any kind of a product or service where you provide training for clients?
Yeah, so all of our clients, we do phishing emails where once a week they're getting a random email, and it's, if you have 30 people and employees, everybody's getting a random email. So that way they can't go like, hey, Joe, watch out for this one. It's coming soon. Nope, different times, different dates. We're trying to trick them. We're trying to, if they click on it, hey, Sam, you shouldn't have clicked on it. This is what you should look for in the future.
Yeah,
because
so this is really kind of interactive, because I always thought, is you guys sitting on almost standing on a stage with slides, watch out from this, watch out from that, but you're actually giving them, real hands-on experience to see if they get it. So that's incredible.
Yeah, on average, there's about 150 emails the average employee gets per day. So,
Wow.
so we also do in-person quarterly cybersecurity awareness training, where we're telling them not only about phishing, but going back to AI, there's something called the deep fake now.
Yep.
And the deep fake is it will impersonate someone's voice. So right now I'm talking on a recording. What the threat actor or hacker can do is just take their phone, record my voice for a few let's just say a minute, 2 minutes. They go on a service and they say, I want the AI to say Andre said XYZ.
Yeah, and visual as well today, with the Obama video, we all remember.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
So you can do pretty much anything, yeah. So tell me, as part of your promotion, you talk a little bit about your social media efforts, and so in terms of visual storytelling, do you basically, what type of storytelling do you do, like client testimonials, or is it you that share anecdotes from clients before and after, tip of the day? What do you normally do?
Sure. So for our prospective clients, we like to follow the Gary V model, which is called jab, 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 right hook. So we don't go on social media and just say, hey, buy for me, buy for me, buy for me. And every post is just basically a sell.
Yeah.
We on our social media, if you look at us, Ark Solvers on any platform, you're seeing that we are a team, that we're family, that we're putting that personal side, and you're seeing that you're not just hiring a vendor, you're not just hiring a company, you're hiring a partner. You're going to know these people. These on average our average employees with us for 6 years now. So you're not just going to be a number. You're going to be family with us.
You're sharing stories from like backstage of employees, parties, kind of special moments.
Yep, absolutely. You'll see that we're having breakfast, and we're all remote, so we're not even always together. But you'll see us having breakfast together. You'll see me taking selfies with my team when we're doing a big project. Customer testimonials, as you said, when we're at a client's location. I'll just, my iPhone is pretty good quality, right? Our phones.
Right.
Hey, would you mind just me? And it doesn't have to be perfect. I've learned recently that, done is better than perfect. And I just do that, just do maybe an edit or not. And then after that, I just post it and I move on, because there's so much noise on social media. Right. And for us, how we want to do it is just, be there, be there, be there. And for every 4th post, I'll say, hey, Ark Solvers, don't forget, this is what we do.
Got it. No, that makes a lot of sense. And to your point, you're absolutely right. Sometimes you don't need to be super professional video content, rough on the edges. It's even better because it portrays you as a more authentic, and a real person actually took that video.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So, I'm kind of curious, we talked a little bit about visual storytelling. How do you define it in your world?
Yeah, so we're going to stories. So when I'm talking to clients, I as you said, mentioned earlier, I have a little technical background, but I don't talk geek. The big words of all the technology, I understand it. But when I'm talking with my clients, I'm talking in English, just like how we're talking right now. I'll use the buzzwords, I'll use the words that you'll understand. And then from there, I just go back to stories. I don't, if I tell a customer, you need 2-form-factor authentication, and we need to do it on everybody, the client's going to be like, what is 2-form-factor? Why do I need it? But
right
if
over the head.
Exactly. Yeah, right over, right? But if I tell the client, 2-form-factor will help you prevent this, and we had a client, or here's a news story, and this is why having 2-form-factor either saved this company, or because they didn't have it, this is what happened then. And then from there, the customer is able to now take that into more of a personal level. They're probably able to now contemplate that into their business and be like, you know what, if that happened to me, yeah, we would be bad. So, okay, Andre, let's go ahead and do it. So I don't sell tech, I sell stories, I sell examples, and then either from there, they say yes or they say no.
That's a perfect, actually, a point you're making, because a lot of people think of example as just a support crutches to prove a point, but in essence, examples, as you said it, they are actually stories. When you use an example, you basically tell a case study of the client and helps brings to life, the big message you're trying to make with the prospect. So definitely use examples as stories, because then whoever you're telling the story to can see themselves mirrored in the story.
Yeah, the confused mind says no.
Exactly. And I'm kind of curious, with your interaction with clients, what are the top kind of misconceptions that they come to you regarding cybersecurity?
I would say that it's cheap.
Oh, that is cheap. Okay, it's a cost. Okay.
Yeah. A lot of because the thing is, our industry has matured a lot. Right. However, you still have what we call trunk slammers. Trunk slammers are the guys that just like, oh yeah, I'll just put Norton on your computer, or you have a tool. And so our industry is not regulated. So, you have an attorney has to go and get the bar exam. But you right now can go to Office Depot, print out a business card or your home printer and just say, I'm an IT guy. And hey, you're an IT guy. Nobody's going to ask you any questions. You can go get your EIN and LLC. So that's been our biggest, for the more mature companies like us, that's always been the biggest breakthrough, is that we are competing with the guy who's the cousin that's going to FIU and knows a little about it, which is true. Anybody can add memory to the computer or fix your printer, make your computer go faster. But for cybersecurity, it's a different world.
Right. And another type of cybersecurity people, I guess it's a bad character that turned good, especially, when we move up to a state level where they dealing with the complex cybersecurity threats. I guess these are the bad guys that becomes collaborator all of a sudden.
Yeah. There's been stories of that.
Yeah. Cool. So we can't close here without talking about AI cybersecurity. What are your take about where we headed with this?
The truth is we're screwed.
Really?
Yeah. No, for real. I mean, what I've seen now is if there's a vulnerability in the system, there's obviously GPT is the biggest one, but there's other ones. But now it can look at a code and find the vulnerability in the code. Then you can all in one platform for a subscription. This is like mind-blowing.
Yeah.
You take that and then it says, okay, let's just say, for example, there's a vulnerability in Windows.
Yep.
I don't have to know code. All I just do is say, AI, find me this vulnerability. Okay, this is it. How do I break into, and you're writing this, how do I break into the vulnerability? Boom. Now you can go to another website that says, show me all the computers in the world that has this vulnerability. Because usually the vulnerability, if you're connected to the internet, then this website can see if you have that vulnerability. And then from there, you just take the IP address, you put that code towards that IP address, and because they don't have layer protections, they're in.
And you're going to tell me there's no safeguards that the OpenAI of the world placing when you ask him, this kind of questions?
That's the thing, the big companies, the GPTs, yes, they are the Googles, but however, right now there's no regulation. There's the government and I'm,
there's also open source AI, and that's the trouble, where it's pretty much available to anybody.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then you can from there take it and make it your own. And that's the issue that's happening right now, is that the government there's no rules to say this is illegal, and because it's technically not illegal, that what I just described I can do it right now. And until I get into someone's computer, that's the legal part. But all of this can be created. But if it was from the beginning, like saying, look, this can't be done, then
Right.
I think that would have been done. So, and we already know how Congress is right now. So I don't think that's not in the top of their list right now.
Yeah, no, that's insane. That's insane. Especially when we heading into an election year in the next 16 months, it's going to be even much sooner than we think.
Yeah. Yep.
So, yeah. So to close, can you kind of summarize for us, for our audience, marketers, entrepreneurs that maybe working on a high stake service like yours, where, the damages could be money, could be data loss, what is your kind of top 3 tips for a effective visual storytelling technique to really drive response?
Yeah, sure. I always say, don't do death by PowerPoint. I use PowerPoint as a guide, as a visual, but especially in the world of Zoom and things like that, where people have 2 screens and they can be listening, but then like doing one of these things where they're listening. Right. So I always like to have conversations with the people and make it where every 10 minutes I'm stopping, making sure, let's just say it's a 40-minute presentation where I'm making it interactive, where I'm stopping and I'm saying, okay, let me ask you a question, or ask posing questions where they have to answer. That way I can make sure that they're understanding and I'm not just going, slide by slide.
Passive one-way communication. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. And for me too, I'm now starting to try to do everything back in person.
Interesting.
The meetings that I've had in the last 2.5 years compared to the last 6 months, I would say the 6 months that I've been doing stuff back in person, it's just no comparison when you're eye to eye, shoulder to shoulder, drinking coffee with somebody. Right. So I think that's the 2 for me. That's the biggest things is as I'm, zipping around and doing networking events and things like that. Yes, there's some time lost because, if I can have a Zoom meeting with you, I just say from going to your building, doing the whole loop, parking on the 7th floor, then going to the elevator downstairs, then going to the lobby, yes, I understand that. But the relationships of that in person versus the little box is so much more. So I would say, back to in person. Yeah.
And I think your 3rd tip is you already mentioned it earlier about how you basically use examples of stories to kind of bring out, messages that you want to make and not straying into the technical side.
Yeah. And I actually do a little joke. I should have brought it. I'm sorry. But I use how the stigma of a tinfoil hat is someone that's paranoid. A lot of times in cybersecurity, it's kind of like a little scary. It kind of like, wait, is this stuff all happening? So sometimes I actually take a hat, put it around aluminum foil, and then be like, look, I'm not trying to scare you. I'm not the guy that's like the conspiracy theory, but this stuff is really happening,
No, absolutely. So this is amazing. You're absolutely right. So thank you so much, Andre. This has been a fascinating, journey to kind of get a little bit into your world of cybersecurity. And actually, it's not just your world. We all living this, and we're going to be facing this, headway. So if somebody has any questions for you, how can they reach out?
Best way is my phone number, which is 786-664-8275. Or you can email me at Andre at arksolvers.com. But call me. Just that's another thing. I'm very accessible.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Andre. This has been phenomenal. Really, I learned so much. And for all of you listening or watching, I'll see you next time at the Visual Storytelling Today podcast.
Thank you.